We will call the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for Wednesday, September 28th to order. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Give a brief explanation of what the proceedings will be about tonight, the order of service, and what our expectations are. So the sequence will be as follows. We will hear the appeals first, and then other business after the appeals will be heard as part of the board. You are welcome to stay for the entire meeting. You can leave after your particular session if you choose. All people that are going to testify tonight will be sworn in, and they may be either done as a group or individually. Anyone addressing the board is requested to use the speaker stand. We ask each of you to state your name and your address for the record. These are recorded, and if we need to go back to do a deposition or anything like that, we need to have that information collected. All documents, photographs, and evidence presented for each case may be accepted by the board. The chairman will rule whether each additional item offered will be accepted or rejected, and the person presenting any case may also withdraw that document. The zoning administrator or the staff member will present a brief summary or statement for each appeal. Once the BZA staff presentation is completed, the appellant will have the opportunity to present their case. Following that, the appellant's presentation, the chairman will ask if anyone's in favor or in opposition of the zoning appeal. And in some instances, time might be limited on it. I don't think we'll have an issue with that this evening. Next, the board will close the public portion by asking voting to close the public portion, and then at that point, individual members of the board will pose questions to anyone that might have spoken this evening. The board will then make a motion to accept or deny the appeal, and once the decision is made, the board is in effect 30 days from the vote. I don't expect we're going to have a heated session tonight, nothing really temperamental, but if it should, keep your temper calm. If you are disruptive, we will have you removed from the room. We do appreciate you being here tonight, and let's get on to the next part. So, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartol?
Here.
Ms. Owens?
Here.
Mr. Shupp?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Roberto?
Present. Okay, so the first case, we got to swear in the appellates. So if you plan on speaking this evening, if you please stand and raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals. Say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Everyone that stood did sign in, correct? Okay, perfect. So our first case will be BZA 2022-12. The applicant is requesting, the property is requesting a variance to our zoning ordinance of 7.4.2, which is agricultural uses. Location of the property is 5100 Hubble Road, parcel number 5100 214-00222-00. This is new. You didn't do parcels before. Applicant is Melissa Rice, and the property owner is Julie G. Felix. Does the staff have a presentation?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. And your microphone doesn't seem very loud.
Is that better?
No.
Nope.
Switch it on to the next one.
Why don't you switch spaces with Jared because his was working. Are you speaking tonight, Jared?
At some point I may be, if required, but if we
I
just
just want to make sure he's heard.
Does it work better now? Nope.
Is the audience, can the audience hear him? Okay, then proceed.
Okay. I'll try to speak a little bit louder.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, so the applicant is located at 5100 Hubble Road. The applicant's Melissa Rice, as you mentioned, the property owner, Julie Felix, and they're looking for a variance from 7.4.2A. It is located in the southern part of the township. Here is an aerial kind of giving a rough idea of where the property is located and some surrounding roads. It is surrounded by R5, so it's heavily residential in this area. Here's just an aerial capturing what the property looks like. And again, as you can see from the picture, it's heavily residential. Property map, so you can kind of see some of the measurements. It's a narrow lot, but it goes very deep. Then you can see the topography. It's fairly flat, slopes a little bit from east to west, I believe. And then this is the portion of the zoning resolution that the applicant is requesting a variance from. It states that all buildings, storage, refuse, and supplies for any agricultural uses must have a 100-foot minimum setback from both the side, rear, and front lot lines. This is the portion of the zoning resolution that it is addressing. So the proposed plan was a 1 foot by 3 foot poultry house located approximately 30 feet from the side lot lines. The front yard setback is met. However, the rear and the rear yard setback is met. So it's only the side setbacks that are not able to get met. This was an outline. This was a site plan that was submitted with it. And then this was staff's attempt at a recreation of that site plan. So again, you can see that it meets about 35 feet from both sides, but obviously would fall well short of the 100 feet. So here's the variance review criteria. I'm sure you all are very well versed in this portion. So here are the staff findings. The current use is a permitted use in the zoning district in which the property is located, R5. It is staff's opinion that the granting of the variance would not be contrary to public interest. Our zoning resolution does not distinguish the difference between chicken and roosters. We feel that it makes sense not to allow roosters at that property. The current site is less than an acre. It is at 0.618 acres. However, our zoning resolution allows animal units. It's 1 animal unit equals 6 chickens. So we used the formula, and it came out to 3 and some change chickens on the property, and then E was not applicable. So it is our recommendation to the board to approve the requested variance of 7.4.2A with the following conditions of roosters being a prohibited animal on the property. And that concludes staff's presentation for this.
Does anyone have a question for the staff? I see none. Is the applicant present? Would you like to come give your presentation, ma'am? Good evening. Can you say your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Melissa Rice, and the address is 5100 Hubble Road, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45247. The owner is my mother, which is Julie G. Felix. You're completely correct. So we're asking for a variance to approve for agricultural use for poultry, and it's just, I just have 1 hen. And the county approves up to 10 hens with no roosters in the area, and the city township has a different policy. As you know, as you saw, the 100, not more than 100 square feet off the property. The parcels in that area do not exceed more than 140 square feet wide. So we can't meet it 100 off of every line. But, so of course the variance is for the agriculture use with the stipulation of no roosters. Don't worry, we don't have males. It's just for as a pet and for the use of the pet and just for food, for organic lifestyle of eggs. And so, and we have no further square footage to meet, but on either side, there's no objection to the property owners, and it's just empty lot in the back of their homes. So we have quite a bit of width if you look at property owners on either side of the back of the property where there's really nothing back there. And there's no concern for me as far as their safety. I feel like I can safely house them there. I have a small portable right now. The county allows for up to 10 square feet minimum for housing and no more than 100 square foot of housing. If you, and this probably wasn't in the staff information at the time, but if we could use that, that would be great, because that would then remove a little bit of hardship of small square footage for the bird. I did put in paperwork that showed that I'm meeting the minimum square feet of the bird, because it's only one. We were formerly in Edgewood and pre-approved there, and theirs is not more than 20 feet off the property. When we went from like 7 to 10 square feet up to about 30 square feet, and so on a building. So right now we're reduced down. So I would like approval for the variance for the agriculture use. It's not commercial, it's just again for a Garrick lifestyle and a pet. And it's just a hen, and we are compliant with no roosters. So no concern there. Sorry, the mic's a little noisy.
That's right.
But anyway, so we don't see a problem. We haven't had any tax there so far, and so far it's working out. So we would like approval and acceptance of the variance so that we can keep our pet, which is our beloved raven. And we have no further square footage to contain, but again, we're backed up with property owners on our side where it's just empty, the backyards are. So we can't meet based on the square footage of 100 off the property line, because we're only 140 square feet at its widest point. But because all of the back of the property, as you see, is just empty and tree lined, we feel like we won't be able to obtain any further square footage, but could still have the variance accepted because the poultry will be in the back, and that's all that's next to us is just property in the back of all those properties. If you can see, it's just all property. So we feel like it wouldn't, be restricted by any of our neighbors. They know their acceptance of it, and it wouldn't be harmful to the pet at all. And if at all too, during the acceptance, they could make it so that there's less hardship if I could increase the square footage of my housing to up to 10 square feet. That would be nice. And we wouldn't have it more than 100 square foot for sure. It's not a shed, so it's just poultry housing. We paid the acceptance fees for applying for the area and the variance. So hopefully we're just asking that they approve it based on those needs. So we don't feel that we would have any safety or health concerns. We keep it a clean environment. She gets fresh food and water every day. And we haven't had any concern from wildlife so far, or the neighbors' pets, so attracting any attacks. So we're actually pretty safe right now. So she is under lock and key. Her housing, her nesting is enclosed, and so is the run, and so is the food. And we pull it at night so it doesn't attract any negativity or be at risk for attack. So again, we're requesting the acceptance for the variance, and we have no further square footage, but there's no parcel size in our area that meets the request of the township, but we meet the county, and the county is not more than 20 feet off in Hamilton County. And again, no roosters, we can comply with that. So we have no issue other than just getting the acceptance based on, we have no further square footage, but the back of the property, when it meets up to the neighbors, there's nothing back there. So hopefully that additional space helps us. And again, so far we've met with no safety needs, and we feel we can be compliant with safety and health and housing. And so I think that's really all I really have to present. So we hope that we're accepted based on that. And if we could go up to 10 square footage of the housing, that would be really nice, so there's not as much hardship on square footage, so that she has more activity. And that's about it. I don't plan on getting any more than the township would allow in numbers, and I don't plan on any males. We're not breeding, we're not commercial, so no worries there. And again, it's just a pet that we'd like to keep, and we'd hate to have to sell her, so we would like to keep her. And again, it's just for a fresh, organic, or natural lifestyle, and it's just, as it said, agriculture use. And it's just one hen right now, and we would not exceed the maximum. So that's pretty much it. And we feel like it's a good, safe, healthy environment for her. It's a nice, fresh, air-driven area. We've not, like I said, knock on wood, had any attacks, and the neighbors are supportive. There's no one that is opposing right now. So that's pretty much it. I don't know who the Chris Holmes applicant, that must be someone after me, maybe. Anyway, so that's really it. That's all I have to present, and
Okay.
we'd just like acceptance. We did not apply for a change of law, but it would be nice if the city township, under a free change, matched the county, so in the future, for property owners, it's not as confusing, and it supports backyarders who are pet owners. And that's about it. But
Okay.
thank you for your consideration, and I hope that you accept the variance and allow us to stay in our area. So this is my hometown of White Oak, and so we're hoping that you allow us to stay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone speaking in opposition? Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made, second?
Second.
Second's been made, discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartol,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Okay, and we'll start with Mr. Wilson. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do not.
Mr. Shutt?
No.
Ms. Owens?
No.
Mr. Bartle? I know you do.
For staff.
Okay.
So we're really not voting on size of the pen or any of that kind of things. It's strictly what you stated in your presentation.
Yes, the setbacks.
Correct.
And if they were to add another structure or another pen, do they have to come back? Or do they have a blank check to continue to do our agricultural things on the property?
As long as they met the setbacks, they would be allowed to, and then as long as they did not exceed the permitted animal units being 3.7, and I'd like to see the .7.
Yeah, I want to 6.7.
Yeah.
I mean, so they could make basically a long, narrow one then,
Well, yeah.
if we,
Just to sort of clarify that the variance is a request for an area variance. It is a permitted use, and the size of the coop or supplies or anything really isn't in question in this particular matter, of a great ancillary question, but it's just the setback, the 100-foot minimum required from any property line. It's really addressing that specific distance.
Right, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
and just a point of clarity, Colerain Township and Hamilton County are separate zonings. So Hamilton County has theirs, and we have ours that overlays, and ours supersedes the area in which we're in. So I hear you, you want to reference back to Hamilton County, but Hamilton County is a very large space, and we wanted to tighten up the zoning more so than Hamilton County. Now, I did mention to staff that we probably should review this distance, because I believe it is a little bit excessive, 100 feet, but that's my personal opinion, and I think they're going to submit that to the zoning to, discuss that and make those corrections maybe. I have one of you, so you don't plan on exceeding the 3 and .75, so you're not going to have a lopped off chicken head or something. So you're only going to have 3 chickens apparently, right?
I only have one right now.
Okay,
I've never had more than 4,
okay,
so I'm well under the limit.
perfect. I know the last week there was a question about whether the yard was currently fenced. So if you come back to the podium, and you have to answer these at the podium if you don't mind.
No, the yard is not fenced in, so that's why the housing and the run for the bird is enclosed.
Okay,
And we do have it wired. I do have reinforcement hardware cloth in case we need to do that. And it has its own safety lock. And all the feed is inside so that I'm not feeding the wildlife or the neighbor's pets. But so it should be okay, in theory. So
Okay.
that's
so it's
why.
not a free range chicken per se. It's you've got an enclosure for it.
Yeah, she's enclosed house and run, and no, she doesn't free range because my neighbors have dogs and I have a dog, a 10-pound Papatis. She's registered here at the county. So for that reason, for her safety, we don't let her free range in the yard.
Okay,
So that's
perfect.
why we're looking at increase the square footage to meet the city township, and want to know if the city matches the county as far as, can I go up to like 10 square feet as long as I don't exceed 100 square feet, just to increase.
It's all about setback from the property line is all that's in question tonight. So if you can build the structure that's not, there are some limitations there, but if you can build a structure that stays within those requirements that we're discussing tonight, which is what we were going to propose off the sidelines, it sounds like you got plenty from the front and the back, you just didn't have enough from the width.
Right.
So as long as that structure is going to stay within that requirement, I believe you'll be okay. You'd have to check with the zoning department to make sure that the structure that you're wanting to build is not going to exceed, an allowable limit. But, I mean, it wouldn't be bigger than a shed, I would suspect, so, but.
No, and like I said, I would never exceed the 100 square feet that's in both the county and the C township, so, and we're just talking about the C township. So no, I would never exceed that. And then I guess another question I would have is if I had to get more, like if I wanted to receive a couple more pets, like, do I have to come back for numbers? If the numbers are still under the 6 or 10 hens, no roosters, do I have to reapply?
Well,
If I
at
add-
this point, your hens, you're only allowed 3.
Okay,
And that's,
so you're reducing the number based on the square footage?
no, that is the most you're allowed based upon your lot size.
Right.
If you had 6 acres, then you would be allowed 6 acres worth of hens, because they have a formula based upon your lot size.
Right, okay, that would be fine. That would be fine.
So you're limited to three hens.
Limited three. Okay, that would be fine, and no roosters. That would be just perfect.
Okay, so I don't have any other questions. I just want to make sure that I haven't missed anybody that's popped up. Okay. Do we have a motion? You can be seated, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the variance as written, including the staff recommendation to prohibit roosters on the property.
I'll second that.
Motion second been made. Any discussion? I see none. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bertel,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. So you now are allowed to have your 3 chickens, which you were allowed before, but you need to have the enclosure so that's, whatever, what did we just determine? It was 35 feet off the line, so that'll be your maximum. You can go to either the right or left. All right, so that will move us to the next case. So BZA 2022-13. The applicant is representing the property owner is requesting a variance to the Colerain Township zoning resolution table 7-2, side yard setback with a minimum lot width and minimum lot area. The property located in question is 11321 Hamilton Avenue, parcel number 510-0021-0065-00. The applicant is Christo Holmes, and the property owner is Tobin Limited. Does the staff have a presentation?
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
So the property that we're discussing is in the northeastern section of Colerain Township, right by Hamilton Avenue when you get off of 275. Here is an aerial with some of the streets, so you can kind of get an idea of where it is located. It is located off Houston Road, but the auditor address that is linked to or that is given to that parcel is a Hamilton Avenue address. So here's the zoning for that parcel. It is currently zoned R6, and then adjacent to it is a PDB on Dallas Boulevard. Here's an aerial of it. You can see that it's currently a vacant parcel, again surrounded by heavy residential, and then that business portion right there. Here's a property map overview of it. Here is a topographical map. So you can see that it's fairly flat. I believe it goes from west to east in terms of slope, but it's fairly easy with that slope. So this is the portion that the applicant is looking to get a variance from, which is the minimum lot area, which in R6 is 7,500 square feet per unit. The minimum lot width in R6, which is 65 feet, The side yard setback in R6 is 15 feet combined, with one side yard needing to be 10 feet. This is the portion of the zoning resolution that they are looking to get a variance from. And then another portion of our zoning resolution that staff felt was applicable was for 7.4.7 multifamily dwellings. It is an allowed use in R6 zoning with conditions as follows, an A, B, C, and D. What they're looking to do is a duplex or a two-family home. However, multifamily is also an allowed use in addition to the duplexes. And then here's the portion that was referenced in the previous slide. So the proposed plan by Cristo Homes on behalf of the property owner is they requested approval of a set of variances from the Board of Zoning Appeals to permit 26 residences or 13 duplex buildings. The variances that they're seeking is a 10-foot variance, a 10-foot side yard setback to allow for 5 feet between the buildings. Currently, their setbacks in the proposal is 0 feet and 5 feet on one side, so they're unable to meet that 10 feet requirement on one, but are able to meet the 5 feet on the other. And then a 0-foot setback along the shared lot line as mentioned. With the attached structure, a variance of 36 feet from the 65-foot minimum lot width to allow for their 29-foot width as currently proposed. And then a variance of 4,172 feet squared from the 7,500 square feet for the minimum lot area to allow for their 3,326 square feet proposed square footage. So here's the proposed plan. It's a little difficult to see in the presentation here, but you can see on here the 26 units as well as the setbacks. And then here's the variance review criteria. And then the staff findings. So the proposed use is permitted in the zoning district in which our property is located, which is R6. It is staff's opinion that a granting of the requested variances will not be contrary to the public interest. We recommend conditions. The zoning resolution does not adequately address this type of development. The resolution does not allow for multiple units on a single parcel. However, it does not allow for multiple units to be on their own parcel. And then E is not applicable. The proposed use is permitted in R6 zoning.
If I may, I'll add, we recently had a case almost very similar to this in February. This case BZA 2022-03. That was the old Beavis School site, Pottinger development over there. And staff's opinion, why I had requested Mr. Springsteen put the section in there to show multifamily. In this district, being R6, multifamily is an approved use up to 4 units attached. Again, the request before the board tonight for the variance is in staff's opinion, it's based on solely on definitions, and then also a slight area for the side yard setbacks, but where this use is permitted at a greater intensity on a single lot solely because the applicant would like to divide the lot itself along the common wall of in this case, a two-family structure. All these variances kind of kick into place. Again, staff's opinion, it really is a shortcoming on our zoning resolution or an oversight in staff's opinion. So just to, again, clarify, this is also consistent with the February case that was at the Pottinger site.
We were, as, there it is, I found it, yep. Had it in the wrong order, there it is. So there's staff here is staff's recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the requested variances from subsection 7.3.1, table 7.2. For the side yard setback, a variance of 10 feet to allow for a 5-foot setback between buildings and a 0-foot setback along the lot line shared between the attached structures. Minimum lot width, a variance of 36 feet from the 65-foot minimum lot width to allow for a lot width of 29 feet. And then a variance of 4,174 square feet from the 7,500 square feet minimum lot area requirement to allow for a lot area of 3,326 square feet. With the following conditions: that these variances be granted in accordance with the submitted plan only, and any significant changes to the plan as presented to the board would nullify the granted variances.
Can I add something real quick? Yep. Would you go back to that page?
This one.
Yep. If I could add on here for point number 1, the required setbacks in R6 are 15, 10, and 5 to equal 15. One side shall be 10, one side shall be 5 to equal 15. In here, we should have made a change. That's my bet for that, to allow for a 5-foot setback between the building and the side yard lot line, not 5 feet between separate adjacent buildings, if that makes sense. So where you have a duplex. Yes, the distance between the buildings will be 10 feet. The variance would be a 5-foot, would be a 10-foot setback on that lot, which is, again, kind of, we're getting into definition because the specific lot, having one side being a common wall, would technically have a 0-foot setback. So it's a 10-foot variance per lot. Overall, per the structure itself, it's a 5-foot variance. It gets confusing, and just to clarify that, if did I adequately clarify that for the board?
I just want to make sure we're clear on this. So the different distance between the actual buildings, not the duplex, are they meeting the requirement? Or are they also shy of 5 feet?
The distance between the buildings.
Well, I don't know if you want to pull up the
Sure,
site plan.
sure, yeah, would like to. Can you zoom in? You know,
But you have obviously a duplex right on the property line, so that's 0.
wait, yep,
So if you
that being
look at the other side, is that 5 feet then to the property line?
5 feet to the property line.
And then another 5 feet, and then the next duplex?
Yes.
So there's 10 feet?
Yes,
Between buildings?
Yes.
between the buildings. We have no, we at the zoning, in zoning have no minimum requirement between buildings, if that makes sense, other than being a side yard setback. And then in this, where 10 and 5 shall equal 15, being the requirement for the side yard setback. So that's where it gets a little,
So we're 5 feet shy between buildings if you want it.
that's exactly, yes. Yes, that's exactly it, yes, if you looked at it in that sense. Then the 0 on the common wall, in staff's opinion, is
Can't do anything about that.
a technicality.
We need to correct the land minimums for that. All right.
I appreciate that. Thank you for allowing us to clarify.
Is your
Yep, that concludes staff's report.
Any other questions for staff? All right, is the applicant present to make a presentation?
Yes, I had a couple questions real quick. Excuse me, I can't tell from this drawing what the rear yard would be.
The rear yard setback,
Yes.
I believe it meets the minimum 35 feet.
Okay. And do you have any knowledge, and maybe this would be for the applicant, but if they're going to be deeded separately?
It's staff's understanding it. That's the exact reason. Again, we'll let the applicant clarify, but that's the exact reason why we're here, for the variances. Same with the BZA 03 case, to allow for separate deeds for each parcel versus a condominium style deed.
Okay, thank
But I'll
you.
let the applicant clarify just in case staff is wrong.
And
Any other questions?
one more.
Okay.
Do you have one? Oh. I know you can't answer this, but when you say any significant changes, who determines what a significant change is for them to not, in your conditions?
That's an excellent question. It's one of those tricky words. It'd be, as a zoning administrator, it'd be my, with the board's permission, significant. I would say anything deviating greater from the variances requested of this plan would be significant and/or anything deviating from the requirements of the resolution as it stands. That is to say, if for some reason, after the applicant gets to the county, and let's just say the detention pond is, it needs to be modified one way or the other, where they wouldn't come back, they wouldn't be required to come back before the board if the essence of the plan was approximately the same, but we were talking, somewhere between now, instead of a 5-yard setback between the duplex itself and the side yard property line, if it were 4.5 or 4, something like that, that might be not significant. But now if we're looking at something greater than that, that'd be one example. But anyway, where if the general essence, and I tried to say the same thing, it's a tricky essence to try and capture in a black and white statement like that. The same thing with the Beavis plan of what I don't want to happen is this variance to be approved for this property, something fall through, get sold, whatever, just because stuff does happen, as just happened with a different property in Colerain that we thought was going to go through, did not. But again, where this is for this plan, for this applicant, for this reason, and then again, if the board has a more detailed definition of what they would like to know significant, or if you want to say any change at all, once you come back to the board. I don't know if that's clear as mud.
But at some point, you obviously are going to review the final plans.
Absolutely,
And you'll
absolutely.
bless it or you won't, based on what you think is significant.
Yep, and absolutely. And if the board doesn't like that saying at all, or doesn't want to give any latitude to us, it's completely your discretion to choose so. That was just
Yep.
trying to balance both of, if some small detail, non-significant, did change, would you grant me the ability, or our department the ability to make that decision? If not, no problem. Kick it back to the board.
Okay.
Thank you for
Any
the
other
tricky one
questions?
to try and encapsulate.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, applicant, you ready to give a presentation?
Good evening. I'm Etta Reed with Bear Becker, 6900 Tylersville Road, Mason, Ohio. I'm here on behalf of Christo Homes. Joe Christo is here with me tonight if you have specific questions for him. They will be the developer and the builder for this development. If you go to the next slide, please. What we're here before you, as staff has indicated, is for the request for 3 variances in order so that they can develop this property to house 13 duplex homes. And what we do is we see this as a transitional development that goes from the commercial BPUD that's down to the southeast and the northeast towards the single-family residential to the west. And highlighted here in yellow is the parcel similar to the exhibit your staff had. Next slide, please. And so this here is the plan. As I mentioned, it is 13 duplex units. It will be 10 feet between the units, between each building, and that'll be a minimum because we do have the curb there, so it gives us a little space there. That's a typical lot. We are adhering to the current 30-foot minimum front setbacks, 35-foot rear setbacks. And that 109 is a minimum on the lot depth, and most of the lots are approximately 114, 115 foot deep. The 109-foot lot is truly at the kind of the southwest end where lot number 1 is there. And each one of these units will be deeded out separately. That's why, essentially, as staff has indicated, why we're asking for these variances, so that we could have that common lot line in the middle. Next slide, please. And so here is more specifically our request. We are asking for a side yard variance so that we can have a common wall between the 2 residential units. So that would be a 0 minimum with a 5-foot minimum on the outside, on the other side of the unit, and that would result in a minimum of 10 feet between 2 adjacent homes. So we are asking for a variance overall of 10 feet. The minimum lot width would go down from 65 to 29. Again, that is because we would be, we're subdividing these lots to accommodate each residential unit. If you look at it though as one building on one lot, it would be 58 feet versus 65 feet. So it's not much of a reduction there. And then lastly, we are asking for a minimum lot area of 3,326 square feet. Again, if you were to put them both together for one lot, it would just be a slight reduction of just under 900 square feet that we would be asking for. Next slide, please. And here, lastly, we just want to kind of give you an idea. This is the product that they propose to build on these lots. You'd have a combination of brick and vinyl siding, exterior materials. All the units would have an attached two-car garage. And each unit, not the total building, each unit would have a minimum of 1,604 square feet. So in closing, we are asking that you approve these variances so that we can proceed to Hamilton County and obtain approval for a subdivision on this property. And I'm here, and Mr. Christo are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? I see none. Anyone speaking in opposition? And if you are, we'll go by names here. If you signed in tonight, I'm assuming you want to speak. So, is it Kaiser? Yes. Would you like to speak this evening? Okay, please come and give your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Damon Kaiser. I live at 2753 Houston Road. I am not in favor as there's already enough traffic on that part of Houston, and during certain hours, I mean, cars are already, backed up and trying to get in and out of places already hard enough. So I would think that that would just make it worse, and we wouldn't be able to, get in and out of places as easy. And on the side streets, it would be hard to get in and out of also. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next would be Tracy Talby.
Hello, my name is Tracy Talby, and I live at 11345 Gravenhurst Drive. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. I was supposed to have been in Florida, but on vacation. So I had, of course, hurricane, preempted that. I had sent a letter to Jared and Stephen, and I was just going to go ahead and use that letter as an outline for what, oppositions we have about this proposed development.
Great, thank you.
Okay, first of all is the increased traffic. The current proposal would add 26 new families to an already congested area. Since most families have 2 or more vehicles, that means at least 52 cars trying to back out of driveways onto Houston Road, which is a very busy road, as has already been established. Okay, not to mention the difficulty of it being in curves, which kind of makes sightlines really hard sometimes through there. Also, the added traffic at the intersection of Hamilton Avenue and 275, which is a problematic intersection on a good day. In addition, on trash day, there would be 26 added garbage pickups in that area, which could create a traffic nightmare. Okay, number 2, going back to number 1 here, also, Gravenhurst Drive runs parallel to Houston Road. So we live on Gravenhurst, and one of our concerns is that traffic's going to jump off onto Haviland and come up Gravenhurst. This is a residential area, streets are not real wide, and increased traffic on Gravenhurst would just be bad for the rest of us. Number 2, loss of privacy is a huge concern for my husband and I, as proposed townhouses are to be at least 2 stories high, which would mean that no privacy fence would be high enough to keep people from looking down into our backyard. We bought this house 14 years ago because of the green space behind it, and there was no neighbors behind us, and we kind of like that idea. Number 3, noise is a concern as well, not just noise from 26 added families, but construction noise as well. We purposely chose and established an older neighborhood when we purchased this house because we did not want to deal with construction noise. We also have several elderly residents in this neighborhood whom have various health concerns, and the added noise, dirt, and dust of a construction site could affect them adversely. Number 4, after reviewing the site plans, we are concerned about drainage issues. Yes, we are aware that there will be a retention pond. However, there is no guarantee that there will not be drainage issues to the existing homes that sit on Gravenhurst Drive behind the proposed development. Currently, there is natural drainage in the green space behind us, and we are concerned that would change if the development were to go through. Also, whom would we as homeowners reach out to if such a change did in fact cause drainage issues in our yards or flooding in our basements? That's another concern. Would we reach out to Christo Homes? What course would we have at that point? Okay, then number 5, the idea of 26 homes in such a small area seems like irresponsible planning to us. That is evidenced in the variances that Christo Homes is requesting. Side yard setbacks from a minimum of 15 feet to the 5 feet variance between buildings, which seems a fire hazard to us. Plus the request of minimum lot size being cut by over 4,000 square feet per lot. This further proves to us that the space is just way too small for such a development. We feel that this development would be better served on a side street instead of a busy main road in the township. And this is not to do with Christo. We would also like to point out the misleading address that was stated on the letter from the township. While we are aware that this is a legal address, according to Hamilton County Auditor's website, we feel that the township could have added verbiage that would have identified exactly where the proposed development was to be. This caused undue confusion to many of the neighbors who received the letter, as they were not aware that this development did directly impact them. So we are asking that, and we want to specify that we're not against development and we're not against progression, but we do feel that this area for the for the scope of the development itself is just way too small for that. And I wanted to give a hard copy of this. Who do I give this to?
That would be me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Let it be known, I've received a typed portion of her speech, and we will submit it into evidence.
Thank you, sir.
Does
Thank you.
anyone on the board need to see it?
Need me to see it?
Oh, if you don't mind passing that to staff, please. Thank you. Next person I have on the list would be Cherry Douglas.
Good evening. My name is Cherry Douglas. I live at 11347 Gravenhurst Drive. Some of mine will be a little duplicate and concerns may be worded a little differently. I, too, had a concern. First of all, that we were only given 9 days' notice. I don't know what the requirement is for the property owners, how much time that is legal for us to be notified. I thought that was a little short and just wanted to voice that, and also was concerned that I felt like the letter could have been a little bit more specific on the property. Although we do realize that was the legal address, but for clarification. Second, I have a really hard time believing that anyone would feel that the lots could be reduced by 4,174 square feet from 7,500 square feet all the way down to 3,326 square feet. Again, I'm not against development, but 26 townhouses is a lot. The side yard setback request is just not enough, I don't feel. It's like making little alleys between the buildings, and it just, sounds ridiculous to me. I just feel it's not enough space in between. I feel this creates unsafe surroundings, among other issues. Christo Homes did know of the zoning restrictions when they entered into a contract for this property, as stated in their appeal. As a homeowner in Colerain for 40-plus years, we've lived there. We bought into the township with these minimal lot requirements, etc., trusting that they would be honored by the township. I disagree with their justification that the essential character of our neighborhood would not be substantially altered. Smaller lots by more than half, more drainage problems for the established residents, more traffic jams, more noise and congestion. Would there be any landscaping between the development and the current residents? There would be no room for that idea. Drainage is already an issue for many of the houses on Gravenhurst Drive. I know, I live there. And that property on one end is elevated just enough that the water drains down. Several houses, if you went there today, their backyards would be damp. So, and there's a natural ditch that runs in my neighbor's yard from the drain and the water that has come down. To clear out all that vegetation and build that many uses would cause more drainage problems and water in our basements. The retention pond plan could not possibly handle all the drainage issues, considering there are already some problems with heavy rains. And what about the natural gas pipeline that runs through the property? Has anyone done a study or research on that? Another consideration for the township is the traffic on Houston Road. That intersection at Hamilton and Houston Road where I-275 Expressway comes off has been, and I know you all know this, one of the worst intersections for accidents over the last several years. To add all those duplex buildings could cause a nightmare and traffic congestion. From the four-way stop sign at Houston and Pippin, the traffic already backs up on Houston past where this development is, where they're wanting to do this development. And again, the concerns about the traffic cutting through in the neighborhood so that they don't want to wait in all this traffic, so they're going to cut through the neighborhoods to get down on Pippin or come out there on Crest or wherever. I really believe in my heart that Christo Homes is overstepping their boundaries here. There is not enough land to proceed with this project. Christo is aware and even stated that this cannot feasibly be addressed without the variances. Given the shallow linear shape of this property, without the requested variances, the property could not economically be developed and not feasible. Why can't people just follow the rules? Everybody is always trying to do what they should not be doing. Stick to the rules, the zoning board requirements. I truly believe that even Christo knows this is not really a good fit and in the best interest for this neighborhood. I feel this is a bad idea due to the dangerous intersection at Hamilton Avenue and also Pippin, the traffic, the noise, the drainage, the pipeline. There's no yards for the kids to play in, or it's be, what's 5 feet on the side of your house, you know? So the kids wouldn't have any place to play. They'd probably all migrate into the neighborhood. Plus dangerous traffic along Houston, where you have family residents, and if kids are playing out that close to the street, because the lots are so small. So I'm asking that you would please take into consideration our concerns. As a resident of Colerain Township, like I said, for 40+ years, I honestly do not know how someone could possibly feel this is a good fit for this proposed development due to the small lot sizes and side yard setback variances that Christo Homes has requested. And I do, before I close, just want to thank all of you for all you do for the township. So, I do have a hard copy for you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Let it be shown that I've received a letter from John and Sherry Douglas, homeowners on the Gravenhurst, and we will submit it into evidence.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, miss.
Next person I have on the list would be hopefully I'm not mispronouncing, is it Etta Reed? Okay, so we got you already spoke. And Joe Christo, you're here. How about Susan Ayers?
I am Susan Ayers. I live at 11414 de Havilland Drive. And as they've all mentioned, de Havilland is the first street as you come off of the expressway. And we already noticed an enhanced traffic pattern there at certain times of the day with no accountability for speed. My mailbox has been hit by cars rushing down the street to beat the traffic multiple times. It's gotten to the point that we stopped notifying anybody because they don't even want to come out anymore. When I mentioned this project to my husband when I first received the letter with the terminology that was on the letter, I assumed it was about the property next door to my property, with that being an issue. And once it was brought to my attention what it actually was, I spoke to my husband about it and he was like, what property right there? Because it is so small. The amount of traffic that will increase right there, it should already be a 3 to 4 lane road. They increased it at the top. It should have been increased farther back. With the amount adding to it, there's no way any of us will make it out of the neighborhood in a feasible amount of time. I've lived there, it'll be 4 years at the end of this month. I'm not from the area. My husband loves Colerain. I was against moving here. We finally did, found the perfect house. Location, great neighborhood. It's quiet for the most part, even with the gas station behind us. It's still pretty quiet. And adding this in will totally take away any parts of the neighborhood that we liked with the enhanced traffic, construction. They're getting driveways, multiple people coming over. Where are they going to park? They're coming right onto my street, right into Gravenhurst. That's already an issue with houses in the neighborhood. I am not opposed to growth. It's a perfect area for 3-4 houses. Adding 13 in that will house 26 families is just insane. So I am definitely against it. And I think it will do nothing but harm the neighborhood that's already there.
Thank you. It's Christina Francisco.
Thank you for letting me speak. I'm Christina Francisco. I reside at 2508 Houston Road, which is that very first house next to where the development will be. And my grandmother is the homeowner. She is 81. She's lived there for 40 plus years. I'm not going to say too much about the objections. My fellow neighbors have basically said the gist. I just want to kind of share our experience, and if I didn't, I would regret it. For as long as we've lived there, Houston Road has been a very busy road. My grandmother has had her mailbox knocked over, 30 plus, probably within the past 10 years. We ended up speaking to the mail man that delivers our mail, and we ended up getting able to put our mailbox on the house, so that way it doesn't happen anymore. Also, our neighbor across the street who could not be here. 275, when people come off of that highway, I don't know if it's because the momentum that they're going when they're coming off that highway, and they just don't realize to like kind of slow down. It's 25 miles an hour. That curb right there is very steep. We have asked for a guardrail to be put up. We have asked for more signs to be put up. We have asked for them to cut the bushes back, just something to help. And we can't even see to actually get out of our driveway. We almost got hit on our way here just because of the traffic. Also, it's not a flat surface. It's kind of hilly. It actually has a huge ditch behind it, and then it goes up and then it goes down. That area has been there since I've lived there, 35 years. I'm worried. I'm worried about the traffic. I'm worried that people are going to go back behind that neighborhood like they had expressed. My mom actually lives on 11300 Gravenhurst Drive, which is the corner house right there behind Circle K. This road alone needs to be at least 3 to 4 lanes. As much traffic that comes off of that road, and to have a flashing light at the Pippin, it's just not working. Traffic's getting more, people are coming in, and I agree with the, 3 to 4 or 5 houses in that area, or just, make it to have a little bit more space. And I'm not against development whatsoever. If we could at least have the variances met, that would be great. It's just for the fact, my grandmother's house is gonna be right next to the very first one. And if we could have the zoning permission that is supposed to be, would be, ideal. Thank you so much for letting me speak, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms.
And if you don't mind, I've got two in the same line, so I'll call Tom Litzinger first.
Thank you. Good evening for allowing me to speak. Everybody so far has talked about everything that I would like to hit, except 11315 Gravenhurst, Tom Litzinger.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I would be at the far other end of the development. It would stop in my backyard. Being there for 30 years, I've called, I can't tell you how many times when I've got out of the front of my house, and I've called the Hamilton County Sheriff because I've heard a big crash at Houston and Hamilton Avenue. We all know how bad that intersection is. I cannot for the life of me picture these cars coming off the highway and kids playing in those driveways. A ball's going to get loose. Something's going to happen. I think it's just too risky right there. I've seen cars piled up on top of one each other at the Haviland and Brace Ridge, where they met in the corner and one ended up on top of each other. They are coming through that neighborhood quite a bit to get over to Crest and Pippin. So in closing, I would just like to reiterate my opposition to this development. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Shelley Litzinger?
Obviously, husband and wife.
Yes.
Shelley Litzinger, 11315 Gravenhurst Drive. Again, same thing, a lot of repetition. The other speakers have touched on my same notes as well. I don't feel this would be in the best interest of our neighborhood community there. Safety issues, as has already been mentioned, for all the residents there that would be in that development, and also for us on the other side, the cars coming through that would try to get out of that traffic, come through our neighborhood. That's just going to be an issue, as already stated. We all know that intersection. Our backyard butts up against this development, so when we sit out in the back on the deck, as been mentioned, we hear the crashes up there at the intersection. That's only going to get worse. And as mentioned again, people coming off that exit, if that, they just, and it is probably the momentum, especially if the light is green, they're just coming off, they don't have to stop. So you can, they do all of this coming off the exit and come around that curve. And we've had time after time, people, when they go through that, they don't make that curve. They end up in that ditch there that's on the property currently. The fire hydrant there has had to be replaced. I think there's a sign of some sort that's had to be replaced time after time because they don't make that turn. And then, if they don't make that turn, are they going to end up in the detention pond or basin? How many are we going to have to fish out of there? And again, the backup, it's just going to be, it already, I think as someone stated, when you're coming off there, say the general of 5 o'clock, getting off work, and you're coming through there at 5:10 to 5:20, when you get off the exit and go straight through and head on down to Houston, you're stopped already right where this development would be. So where are they going to go once it gets up just a little bit further? They're going to be blocked coming off the highway potentially. So same concerns. I don't feel this would be to the benefit of the people in our neighborhood, and I would be against it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't have anyone else on my list. Is there anyone here that has not spoken that wish to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to speak.
Okay, so I need to have you sign in for the record, and I will swear you in as well. Can you sign in there for me, please? Yes, ma'am. If you'll wait for her to sign in, and we'll call you up. That's fine, just walk right underneath. That's fine. And that's fine, I'm gonna call you, so just stay close. So Lisa Seibert? You wanna go and speak, ma'am? I need to swear you both in. If you stand and raise your right hand, please. The gentleman as well. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals, say I do?
I do.
Thank you, sir. All right, Lisa?
My name's Lisa Seibert. I live at 11337 Gravenhurst Drive. And like everyone else, we're worried about the traffic, you know, how close these houses are going to be to Houston. I'm concerned it's how far away from my property line are these houses going to be. On top of that, everybody talks these days of global warming. That's a green space. Can't we save it? Can't we, you know, I've seen blue jays, redbirds, there's rabbits and squirrels. I mean, it's such a small piece of property. Why do we have to put 26 families in that little tiny spot? You know, like I said, it is a traffic issue over there, but I really don't think that many people can do anything backing out of their driveways. But I really think that we need to save this green space. It's very small, as opposed to all pavement, asphalt. But that's just me. But thanks for listening.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Philip Gamble?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good, sir. Can you give your name and address for the record, please?
Philip Gamble, 2508 Houston Road, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45231.
Thanks, sir.
I've lived there for a long time, okay, off and on. My mom actually lives there, okay? And I don't know how many times I had to replace her mailbox, okay? Had to go to the postmaster to get permission to put a mailbox on her front of her house because they got hit so many times. My sister actually had her car plowed into in the driveway and totaled out, okay? I cut the front yard. I'm scared to death to cut the front yard, okay? Because, I mean, if it rains just a little bit, they come off that highway, they're flying, okay? And I know they're doing 55, 60 going around that corner. And when they go around that corner, they cannot handle it. They went through houses, and they went through yards. That telephone pole at the end of my mom's driveway has been replaced I don't know how many times, okay? Like I said, down the street, okay, by Dallas and all that, okay? Coming off the highway right there, you got that fire hydrant. I don't know how many times that thing's been replaced. Countless and countless times, okay, out through these years, okay? Now, okay, they don't even got that fire hydrant hooked up anymore. It's been hit so many times, they just got it screwed on looking like it works, and it don't, okay? So it's a bad idea to have that there for the traffic, the safety, okay? It's like if you put families on that road, you're putting the children there that's going to be in the houses at risk. And sooner or later, one of them's going to get hit, one of them will get killed. And that is something y'all need to take under consideration, all right? And the more traffic, the more accidents you're going to have. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I've exhausted my list again. I want to make sure everyone has been given the opportunity to speak. So I see no other, well, Mr. Christo, did you want to speak? I know that you did sign in. Okay. Do I have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shutt?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Same order as last. Mr. Wilson, you want to start us off?
I would be curious to, I'd like to ask the applicant, if you don't mind, just to speak to the density issue, specifically the idea of whether the property could be developed in a way that would meet the zoning requirements.
Sure. So we have looked at this with single-family, duplex, and four-family unit buildings. As I had indicated, we are proposing 13 duplex units with the variances. Without the variances, we can put 12 single-family homes on this property. So we're asking, really, essentially, we're asking for one additional building on this property with these variances.
And so that would be 12 single-family homes, so it's really a difference of 14 families.
Correct.
On the
Correct.
property. That's all for me right now.
Okay, Mr. Shupp?
Yeah, I had some questions for you.
problem.
Are these buildings proposed to have basements in them?
They have not made that determination. It could go either way.
Okay. And bedrooms, I didn't hear anything about.
3-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
Okay. And there's some concern about drainage. I'm familiar with that area very well, but I wasn't aware of there were any drainage issues. How would you control that during the building process?
Sure. As I had indicated, this will have to go through the Hamilton County subdivision process. Hamilton County, as you may be aware, has specific requirements with regards to drainage. So we cannot allow more water off the property than goes off the property today. Furthermore, we cannot send water onto someone else's property that does not go there today. So any water that comes onto us, we have to take, and we would all of it's intending to go to the detention basin up at the northeast corner, where we'll hold it and then slowly release it into the storm sewer system and the roadway. It is not, we will not be sending water, the county will not allow us to send water onto other people's property. We will be sending it all to the detention basin.
Okay, and I think I just had one other question. There's a hypothetical question. If this were reduced to 12 units, it would appear to me there'd be 60 feet, which would relinquish the need for the side lot variance. Has that ever been a consideration, or?
Yeah, you are correct. As I had indicated to Mr. Wilson, we could develop this without any variances and put 12 single-family homes on this property. We would not be, we can meet all the side yard setbacks, all the lot size requirements, and frontage requirements. So we can do that and put 12 buildings versus the 13.
Okay. That's all I had for you. Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Owens?
So, excuse me, if you, and this might be hypothetical, if you know that you could do this without the variances by reducing the number of buildings, is there any particular reason why other than just cost or?
Well, based upon the cost of the property, the improvements that are necessary, they do need to run sanitary sewer. There's not sanitary sewer across the frontage, so they will have to extend sanitary sewer. They need to extend gas, put in water taps. Just the cost to develop this property, doing it as single family based upon the market, the performance just doesn't work. The numbers don't work to do 12 homes with all the improvements they need to do. They really need the additional units to make the numbers work to purchase this property.
I guess I was referring to buildings. So are you saying one less, what would one less duplex be, 12 actual buildings?
Well, if we do duplexes, we would still need variances because of the whole fact of the single, when you have a duplex, you have a common wall. So
Right.
The current zoning does not allow us to have a 0 setback. So we would need that variance no matter what. So we would either, basically, we could do 12 single family, no variances, or we're asking for 26 units, which is 13 buildings with the variances.
Okay, that was my question.
Mr. Bridle?
But are you also saying if you were to build 12 duplexes, that doesn't make it profitable?
I didn't make that, no, that is not the statement I made. I'm just saying we cannot build 12 duplexes without variances. Basically, we cannot build any, if we want to do any multifamily building, we have to get variances because of really the side yard setback is, and Jared, correct me if I'm
That's
wrong.
fine. I'm just saying you could build 12 duplexes and spread them out and still get some variances from us.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm just don't know if that's feasible to the applicant or not.
If the board would may at some point, if I could address a few issues that were brought up at this point, though specifically, given what the applicant and potential property owner is proposing, the only need for the variance is because the applicant, slash future property owner, desires to split the property down the middle, down the common wall. A duplex, or a threeplex, or a fourplex, per our zoning resolution, could be built there as of right, and however many you can fit in this area as fourplexes, as long as they met the 5 and 10, combined 15, without any variances required. The sole reason, in staff's opinion, it's a shortcoming of the zoning resolution, is that the property owner, or developer, potential property owner, would like to split the structures down the common wall, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that, as we discussed in the 03 case in February, allows for more advantageous lending opportunities to potential home buyers. I could be completely mistaken in that. I'm not a financial expert or any means, but like that. But that was the case made there. It's my assumption. It's similar here. The whole owning the ground underneath versus if they so chose, they could do multifamily and be the landlord, rent it out. They could do multifamily, do it as a condo, and not need any variances, or duplexes. Yes, from 2 to 4 from 2 to 4 units is what the zoning code currently allows in R6. No variance required. As many as they can fit on there as they like. Part of staff's opinion of the having the hearing with this regarding tonight would be that if there are any specific conditions that the board would like to impose on this property, landscaping, buffering, anything like that, you have the ability to do that. And then again, the variance request, as staff has been informed in previous cases, and my understanding still as of today, is that gives that owning the property underneath the structure itself gives you more options, more advantageous lending options. If I'm wrong, please correct me on that aspect. And then if the board at any point would like me to hit on a few issues that were brought up during the public comments, just maybe for some clarification, I'd be happy to do so if you would desire.
Yeah, let me get through my section first. So.
All right, I'll restate my question. Is the applicant okay with building 12 duplexes versus 13 to spread them out?
Sure.
That was my question. Okay.
Eliminate one of the variances required.
Well, yeah, regardless of variances, I was just trying to see if, I'm still trying to figure out what makes this property valuable or worth developing. And I'm hearing either 13 duplexes or 12 single-family homes. I was just trying to get a feel for what it's going to take to make it worth them moving forward. So who owns Houston Road? Is it township or county?
It's my understanding, first, I don't know the exact answer to that question. I can find out for you. It's our general understanding in the department that typically if somebody's name a road, it typically falls under Hamilton County. That is not always the case. But I will get clarification for that. I apologize. I don't have that at this moment.
Okay. Because I was just trying to think if there's a way for the county, if they own the road, to work with the neighborhood and or the developer to put speed humps in or, other devices. But that would not be you couldn't make that a condition.
I believe the board could if they
could.
If the board felt that would meet things, you can make it a condition. If for some reason it wouldn't hold up legally, then that would come up later, but you could make that a condition.
But I mean, if the county refused, then they would not be able to move forward with their development. If we had it as a condition.
That'd be true, and then designing the maintenance statement of that could get tricky, but it could be conditioned. It could be something you could advise staff to work out in the future with the applicant, if that's what the board chooses. And then also, if I real fast could, as presented, because of that dividing line between coming out of the common wall, the variances as requested, they look very significant. And they are, if you apply the standard of a single lot to, in this case, what is already zoned as a permitted use as of right for multifamily, where if you took the single structure, not each parcel, but the single structure they're proposing, you're looking at a side yard variance request in this instance of 5 feet, a lot with request of 7 feet, and an lot area request or variance of 848 square feet. Now, staff's opinion would not be that's not a significant request or variance of the staff's opinion, but just to sort of put it in context and perspective, that it looks really, the numbers, the same thing with the case we had in February, the numbers, they look significant individually, but as what is permitted as of right, and not always an enjoyable thing to say, but what could be done is just as significant. You could have 4 units in there now, on one single lot as condos or as apartments or any other setup, as long as they weren't individual lots. So it's not a fun thing to address, but again, it's just the facts of the matter.
All right, thank you,
sir.
Okay. Well, I would agree that yeah, in like and kind, this is a similar of the 2 projects that we've seen before, the one at Beavis project and the one that was on Springdale Road, with the exception, this is on a main artery, and those other 2s were set back into a subdivision or set back into a one in and out access. So the dynamics of this space is far worse, in my opinion, than what we approved before. So I can't justify that as a good reason to say this is a good fit for this space. Now, yeah, you could do 4 families and that sort of thing, but I think I would listen to the residents as a builder, and this is a liability that someone's gonna get killed or hurt unless we do something with the road, because it is directly across from an exit ramp from 275, and I have been down the road many times. There is no speed limit. I mean, there is, but it's not addressed or obeyed. Issues the small lot size, I would agree with that. I'm with Mr. Bartle. I think if you could lop off one of the homes and put the spacing so that there's more space between them, and eliminate that variance as part of one of the criteria, that's at least one thing less in my crawl on this project. Post office was mentioned multiple times. I mean, what are the plans to have these mailboxes on the road, or are they going to be on the building?
The Postal Service now requires us to have what they call cluster mailboxes. So each individual will not have their own. We'll have to have one location of a mailbox, and everybody has to walk down or go down to get their mail at one location.
So then the mailman's going to be sitting there for 25 homes doing mail on Houston Road?
We'll have to work with the postmaster on how he wants to do mail delivery, but that's the current policy, the way the postal master works.
Okay. So it was that. Trash day, I can see that being an issue. The loss of privacy for 2-story homes, I mean, that's another significant. We're doing a disservice to these residents that have, single family, ranch style homes, and now we're going to do a 2-story that they can look down and they've lost their privacy. So I do have an issue with that. You've already addressed drainage issues. As far as the 9-day notice that someone mentioned, I mean, how is that actually real, or what happened there?
If I may use this opportunity to sort of step into each one, may I start with that? And then
That'd be perfect.
Just as a matter of fact, to have as matter of fact as possible, that the facts presented as well as our department knows them, not to say
And that's
the side
why
of that.
I wanted clarity.
We're required per the BZA, oh my goodness, blanking, the Bylaws, excuse me, per the Board of Zoning Appeals bylaws, we are required to send a mailed notice at least 10 days prior to the hearing.
Okay.
And then by state law, we're required to do a public notice, again, 10 days prior to the hearing. We send the notice out in that time and attempt to achieve that time. If the mail doesn't get delivered on that date or one day later, unfortunately, our department doesn't have control of that. So again, the notice was mailed within the specified timeline, being 10 days, prior to the date of the hearing. And then also the public notice was also given in accordance with the 10-day requirement as well. Again, I apologize if anyone didn't receive it in time. Unfortunately, our department just doesn't have any control of that aspect of when you receive your mail.
Well, I can speak to that just in my own personal residence. That I get mail every other day. That's the way they're doing mail right now.
Yep.
So that could be what happened in this particular instance.
I would say as a consolation, the mailed and public notice were both received, and we have a great turnout for the meeting. So it'd be staff's opinion that there was no shortcoming on that. Again, just sometimes.
No intended harm.
Yeah, exactly. As far as any traffic conditions, as Ms. Reed noted, as it was brought up as well, that'll still have to be approved by the Hamilton County engineer regardless of who has the road. Again, is just to put out there as facts, as permitted in an R6 district, which is what all the existing homes are there as well, as Stephen already showed on the zoning map. Any building can be built up to 3 stories by right. Again, just a fact of the existing ordinance. The construction noise is something that really can't be addressed. It's a piece of land. I know this comes up in many instances. People move in, there's open space behind them. They hope it stays open space forever. Unfortunately, generally, the only way to ensure that is if you own the property yourself or in conjunction of some community, or get it labeled as open space, which is able to do. Again, property rights, kind of a quintessential American value. The drainage, again, is already addressed. So that came up. The site standards, as was addressed, the variances look significant individually. However, per building, staff's opinion that the request isn't significant. Again, as well as staff's opinion, if the developer or proposed property buyer would like to, they could just, again, do a condo-style setup, and as long as they met the standards by law, I'd have to approve their plan, and then they'd be, same process, so they have to go through the county subdivision process, just to address that aspect. And then 9 days notice, we hit the address of the property itself. I understand it was misleading the staff as well when we got the address. Unfortunately, we were required to by law to state the address as listed by the auditor, and it's just our hands are tied on that. That's, again, the notice got out, all the intent was met, and we had a great turnout. So it's a fact of the matter. But again, we have a proper meeting, and then the citizen resident testified about the natural gas line. Again, that'd be on the property owner, developer, and then Hamilton County on the road if there is an easement. And in fact, the natural gas line running through there, they'd have to meet any requirement of that. And that
It's actually in the map. They've spaced their home accordingly, so.
Perfect. And then again, this is the preliminary in the step that generally initiates more developed plans, all the plans required by Hamilton County for the subdivision process. So that's kind of just first step, and some of those things are addressed later in the process. May or may not be applicable here. Definitely worth mentioning. We appreciate the mentioning. But again, just as a matter of fact, get all the facts out there as factually cohesive and with as much integrity as possible is all we aim to do. So thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, I don't have any further say. Does anyone else on the board have anything to question before we make a motion?
I have a question, and it's kind of related to the semantics earlier that we talked about with significant changes, with staff findings that kind of what staff findings are listed in section B, that it is staff's opinion that granting of the requested variance will not be contrary to public interest. if we've had the type of conversations and discussions that we've had tonight, how exactly, again, are we defining public interest?
Thank you, Miss. As definitions are kind of what again, this meeting and others similar, but not exact to this, have been all about. The police powers granted but to a township for zoning powers are public health, safety, welfare, and the general morals. And if it meets all the standards set out as far as drainage, any type of runoff, any type of spacing required by the county for driveways, again, that's not being contrary to the public interest would be if it met those items, which zoning feels it does, but that's why we have the Board of Zoning Appeals. Whenever there's some kind of conflict between the words or opinions, then it comes here. So that's what staff's determination of that opinion was, that we felt, as far as the general health, safety, and welfare, the only powers granted to the township to perform zoning procedures as it stands, it wasn't against that. If that answers your question, Miss.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we were operating by some legal definition of what had to meet, that definition. So thank you.
And I have a question.
Okay, I'll come back to you. I can't do public portion now. Mr. Bartle had a question.
Yeah, I was just curious if the applicant, if we were to table this, if they would be willing to come back with options that showed different ways that this could still be a viable project after hearing everything you've heard? Or is it not feasible to do that?
My name is Joe Christo, 7594 Tyler's Place Boulevard in Westchester, Ohio. Sure, we would be willing to consider options. I understand in development, nothing is easy. We are an outsider coming to a community with a product and a pro forma, and we look on a 2D plat, but we have to recognize we're coming into a community of existing residents who've lived here and have their opinions and have made them known. We've recently, and giving some insight to how this product ended up to where it is, successfully, we just finished a project in Springfield Township where the Welsh Elementary School was raised, and the township didn't have any use for the ground. We came in and developed a community of 30 home sites, and all the 30 homes are under contract. They were sold within about 8 months. Now, single-family homes, the prices of those homes exceeded $400,000, some at $460,000. It's a beautiful development, and we want to keep the homes attainable, and the market felt that price was attainable. I understand, again, the environment is different at this location. We felt that being across from an industrial site, down from a commercial site, and next to a busy road, that those prices would not be achieved. I don't build Homerama homes. I have no interest in that. We build attainable homes. We fight the price increases. And now our buyers are faced with rising mortgage rates. And we need to look at all the ways to build feasible homes. I think, is it Ryan on Dunlop Grove? They're doing attached houses. They're 3 stories high. The sentiment with home building, if we want homes to be attainable, we need to look at different ways to keep the costs down for the residents. And to build a large product that people cannot afford, that's not attainable, that has no interest to us. We really do want to keep things attainable for the customers. So that is the insight behind and the thinking behind this product. I hear the residents have spoken, and I think it's reasonable for us to listen to what you have to say based upon that, and we are open to options.
Thank you.
I was also curious is it even feasible to get the county involved with the street and get their insight as to what could be, solutions to the speeding problem?
It's a good question, what's feasible. I don't know what the county's timeline is. It may be different than our contract terms. I mean, the seller of the land, not us. We have the ground under contract, but that's for a limited amount of time. And once that time expires, then the land will remain as it is. Maybe at some point it will be developed and these questions will have to be answered in the future, but right now, I agree, it's worth an option to take a look if something feasible can be done now, while I've got the seller is agreeable and perhaps have a plan that works.
Okay, thanks.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? No, ma'am, the public portion is closed. Anyone else from questions for staff or for anyone that has spoken?
I have a question for Mr. Tobin.
There you go.
I'm sorry to ask you to come up, but
Mr. Christo?
yeah, I'm sorry. Just in general terms of the price point, I'm looking to see how, if any, that would affect the community, bringing values up or down. Your projected price point? And I know that's hard to nail.
Sure. I mean, based on home prices on other developments nearby, I think the product here for a unit could be between $320,000, $340,000. Prices have done nothing but gone up. In addition, mortgage rates have gone up, and yeah, home builders are in a challenging situation to keep homes pricing attainable.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all I had for you. Thank you. And I had one question for staff. I am seeing a sidewalk on this drawing. Am I seeing a sidewalk?
Per our zoning resolution, they are required to place sidewalks in there. Or if they could appeal, they could come to the Board of Zoning Appeals and ask for a variance to that, and then they would be required to place that into our sidewalk fund. And I believe the going rate right now, if it's a township road at least, it's $75 per lineal foot if they request to put in the fund instead of install the sidewalks. Excuse me.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for clarifying. And then if I also may, again, to address any concern citizens may have, the board, if they see fit, can require any conditions they would like upon the applicant. The applicant's free to accept those conditions, to not accept them, and just to put that out there.
Okay. Any other questions before we go to a motion? Someone want to make a motion?
Well, I did have a question first.
Okay, then let's go to that.
Do we do the motion and then discuss other motions and options, or do we do that first and then come up with a motion?
My suggestion would be to make a motion with the option that you want to be enacted upon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. But again, my idea is to table this.
Then that would be your motion.
So unless somebody else wants to make a motion, I would make a motion to table the variance request until next month in order to see as many other options as possible that are financially feasible to the applicant in order for them to move forward.
So a motion has been made. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and second, and discussion. See none. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. So we are tabling this. If you're, would like for you to come back with some alternative suggestions that are going to better fit within our zoning ordinance, is what we would recommend along those lines. So that would move us on to the next piece. See, we have no unfinished business. Bring us to the approval of the minutes for August 24th, 2022. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to approve the minutes.
Motion been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. The next meeting would be October the 26th. Obviously, we have one that's going to be moved there. Any administrative matters? I see none. Okay. Then we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion second made, discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.